This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Thank you for listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. My name is Ben.
And I'm Pauline.
We are back here on a Monday. You have a good weekend, Pauline?
I did. I feel like I guess it feels like this every weekend, but it felt like it went by fast.
Yeah, I had an okay weekend. I know I ate something bad on Saturday.
Aww.
Because I had like food poisoning all night Saturday.
Yeah.
And into the wee hours of yesterday morning. So I was basically sick in bed all day. Throwing up all night, but other than that, I'm doing better now. I need to just get my fluids back up, and I'll be 100%. But other than that, I've been doing pretty well.
I've been drinking a lot of lemon water. You should drink lemon water.
I've been drinking a ton of Gatorade.
Really?
Yeah. Get my electrolytes back up. I've been drinking, like, Pedialyte as well.
Oh, yeah.
But that is... It's basically like a really thick Gatorade. And it doesn't taste too bad, but just sort of the texture in your mouth is kind of iffy, so I'm not a big fan of it, but I kind of need to do it.
Right. Oh, poor Ben.
Other than that, I know what I ate, and I make sure when I go there, I will not ever have it again. So now that I know what I won't be getting next time.
You're brave to still go back.
Well, so I go to AM/PM often on my lunch.
Oh, Ben, there it is right there, AM/PM.
But I have there's this app where you can scratch off for free stuff.
Okay.
So I scratched one off and I got a free cheeseburger. So I'm like, okay, I never had that. I'll try off the cheeseburger. And it was the worst cheeseburger I probably ever had.
Probably.
And now, obviously, that I know it's why I got sick. I just know it because it looked like worse than like a school cafeteria cheeseburger. It was worse than that quality.
Mm-hmm.
So I know I'll never have that again, and I know that's what it was that got me sick. So now that I know that, I'll stick to my corn dogs or my nachos.
I just get a bag of chips and go.
So I know I won't be eating the cheeseburgers. But anyways, enough about my weekend shenanigans.
Right.
We will get in to talk about the
all
fabulous
these exciting
things.
Games. I know.
The NFL disappointed us 2 weeks ago, but yesterday and Saturday, some absolutely fabulous games. None bigger than the Dallas Cowboys and Packers game. That was for the first game of the day yesterday. So we'll do these games in order of which they appeared. The first game of the weekend was the Atlanta Falcons against the Seattle Seahawks. The Falcons come out on top 36-20. Really, really dominated Seattle. The Seattle defense without Earl Thomas really looked out of sorts. Matt Ryan totally carved them up. 338 yards and 3 touchdowns. Devontae Freeman, good game on the ground. He had 45 yards and a touchdown as well as 80 yards receiving. Julio Jones, 6 catches for 67 yards and 1 touchdown. Sorry, this game was just the Atlanta offense. It was really strength versus strength. The Atlanta offense versus the strong Seattle defense.
Right.
But they just fell so behind they couldn't even come up. Atlanta with a big second quarter, 19 points in the second quarter. They had a 19-10 lead at halftime, and they just didn't really turn back from there. They totally dominated this game. Russell Wilson, 2 touchdowns and 2 interceptions to go with 225 yards. Thomas Rawls in the running game could not get going, 11 carries for 34 yards on Friday, Anthony. I thought the story of the game would be Seattle running the ball. If they were able to do that effectively, they would win the game. That obviously did not happen.
And that's what I thought, especially in in the very beginning of the game, when they scored that first touchdown. I was like, okay, let's do this. But, I mean, I'm not a Seattle Seahawks fan, but I thought that was a preview of what was to come for the rest of the game as well.
Yeah, the Seahawks in that first drive, you mentioned it, Pauline, they got off right away. They took a 7-0 lead. Russell Wilson and Thomas Rawls were running the ball really good in the beginning part of that drive. But then from there on out, they kind of fell from behind. They could not stop Matt Ryan and the offense. And then once you get so far behind like that, you can't really come back. So the Atlanta Falcons move on with a 36-20 win over the Seattle Seahawks. And in the second game on Saturday, the New England Patriots against the Houston Texans. The Patriots win 34-16. Pretty much everyone outside of a Houston Texans fan thought the Patriots, even they probably thought they would not win this game, but the Patriots get it done. Brock Osweiler, another terrible performance, 198 yards, 3 interceptions. He did have 1 touchdown, but the story is definitely the 3 interceptions. If you're going to go out and try and beat New England, you can't turn the ball over 3 times like that. And they had their opportunities. They were only down 1 at halftime. It was 14-3. They got back-to-back turnovers right away. Got a turnover and scored, and then Dion Lewis fumbles the kickoff, and they get the ball right back. So they had their opportunities. They were around late into the game, but then story of the game, really just the turnover. Second half, New England pulls away. They outscored them 17-3 in that second half, and Tom Brady moves on to the AFC Championship game. He threw for 287 yards, not his best performance, 2 touchdowns as well as 2 interceptions. Dion Lewis was the big story of this game. Although he did fumble that 1 kickoff, he returned 1 for a touchdown. He also had a touchdown on the ground, and we all know what he can do in the receiving game as well. He had 23 yards and a touchdown. So he had 3 total touchdowns on the day for Dion Lewis, for a guy who didn't even play much during the regular season because he was injured so often. But the Houston Texans, I thought they played better than I thought they would. It was just the second half.
Right, that really got
them. Osweiler could not stop turning the ball over. That allowed the Patriots to really just dominate the second half and was the story of the game there. Now we're going to move on to talk about these games on Sunday, which were by far way better.
So exciting. So fun.
So the first game of the day was supposed to be the Steelers versus the Chiefs. But the NFL on Friday did move that game back because of weather issues. They wanted fans to be able to drive to the stadium and not have to worry about hazardous conditions because they basically had like a hailstorm in the first part of the day. So they did not want to have fans drive in unsafe conditions. So they pushed that game back to 8 o'clock Eastern time, 5 o'clock Pacific time, typical Sunday night football matchup.
But I was like, this is pretty nice, though.
It's good, although the Steelers were not necessarily happy with it. And we'll talk about that when we get to that game. I thought it was a good decision by the NFL as well. So the first game of the day was the Green Bay Packers taking on the Dallas Cowboys at Jerry World at AT&T Stadium. And this was an absolutely classic game. A thriller, went down literally to the last seconds.
Yes.
Mason Crosby kicks a 51-yard field goal as time expires to win the game for Green Bay 34-31. The Packers jumped out to a huge 21-3 lead right away in the second quarter. And then the game, I was watching the game. I was talking to my girlfriend and my dad. And I'm a Packer fan. My girlfriend's kind of like with me. My dad's a Packer fan. And my brother is a Cowboys fan.
She's kind of like with me.
So it was like 3 against 1. But, I was just kind of quiet because I was still kind of recuperating. But I was just kind of taking in the game and not really saying much. But even at 21-3, my girlfriend's like, oh, wow, like the Packers are doing really well. And I'm like, this game is not over. Like Dallas is the top team in the NFC for a reason.
Right.
So I knew the game was not over. And the Cowboys actually come back. So Mason Crosby kicks a 51-yard field goal as time expires. But the story is really the battle of these quarterbacks.
Yes.
I'm not really sure who played better. I guess you could say Rodgers because on that final drive, the game's tied with 35 seconds left.
Right.
Because Dallas kicked a field goal to tie the game, a 52-yarder by Dan Bailey. 35 seconds left. Aaron Rodgers has 2 timeouts. On a 3rd and 20, he completes a 35-yard pass to his tight end, Jared Cook, who was his top receiver of the day. Jared Cook, 104 yards and 1 touchdown, but none bigger than that 35-yard pass with 3 seconds left to get the ball into range for Mason Crosby to kick a 51-yarder as time expires. Aaron Rodgers, 356, 2 touchdowns. He did have 1 interception, kind of a bad one, a nice catch by Jeff Heath, secondary for the Dallas Cowboys, but he had Devontae Adams wide open. If he led him more to the corner of the end zone, the game would have been over. The Packers were up 15 at the time, would have made it 22. But Aaron Rodgers, 1 interception. But Dak Prescott, he did not blink. He had a fantastic game. Didn't get off to the greatest start. They were down 21-3. But in that fourth quarter, he threw an interception. In the third quarter, Micah Hyde jumped a screen route. But then since that point on, Dak Prescott was absolutely spectacular. 302 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. Dez Bryant had a monstrous game. 9 catches for 132 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Packers went to try to play like single man-to-man coverage. Des Bryant against Ladarius Gunter, who is a 6th-round pick a few years back. And Des absolutely ate him alive. 132 and 2 scores. Next week, they're going to have Julio Jones, which I'd say Julio Jones is better than Des Bryant. So if the Packers go with that same mentality next week, I think it could be a long day for them.
Really good game, yeah.
It could be a long day. But anyways, so Aaron Rodgers, fantastic performance, but Dak Prescott equally as good.
I know. I like Dak Prescott a lot. I think he lived up to the hype that he had this season. And I was really excited for him to do well. But then at the same time, as a rookie, I don't know. I'm always kind of half and half when rookies have like spectacular seasons like this, because a part of me wants them to continue on and have like a historic first rookie season, especially, him and Ezekiel Elliott would have been a nice duo. Rookies going straight to the Super Bowl for the first time would have been awesome. But then at the same time, you kind of have that whole... This is a little bit where, especially this is an example where experience kind of beats out talent a little bit too as well. Not saying that Aaron Rodgers isn't talented, but I'm just saying with that experience. And so now Dak can put this in his experience folder and he can build up upon this, because sometimes when you have such a stellar, I always hate when guys have such a stellar rookie season and never do anything else, you know, and they never come back and you don't really hear about them. And we always talk again, over and again, how good they were their first year, their second year, and then they kind of fall off. So I don't want that to happen to Dak Prescott. I want him to build from this, and so that next season, and I think that he's the kind of guy, and the teams, the Dallas Cowboys right now are in that mentality and having that, I think that next season they're going to build off from this. You know, it's just another chip on the block, and they're going to build from this rather than kind of let it bring them down, because I do not think that Ezekiel and Dak are going to let this be their best season.
I definitely agree. They're definitely set up for the next 10 years. Mm-hmm. The only thing that could really hurt them is something that kind of hurt the Niners during their heyday 3-4 years ago, and that's maybe guys with contract negotiation issues.
Yeah.
They got a lot of investment to do between Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott,
right.
The guys on that offensive line. Zach Martin's going to demand a lot of money. He's going to be a free agent after next year when his rookie salary is done. Mm-hmm. Dak Prescott's going to be wanting to earn more than $400,000 a year.
Right.
So I mean, that's the only thing that could really step in the way. But yesterday, Dak Prescott literally left no doubters.
Right.
In regards to, is it Tony Romo? Is it Dak Prescott? Like
mm-hmm.
Dak. This is Dak's team by far.
Yes.
In the biggest game of the season, he did not disappoint. Ezekiel Elliott played great as well. 125 yards on 22 carries. But for me, it's just the clutch performances by Mason Crosby, because in that fourth quarter as well, to give them a 31-28 lead, Mason Crosby kicks a 56-yard field goal.
Yes.
The third longest in postseason history. I was watching the game. I was a little scared because there was about a minute and a half left. The Packers go for a 56-yard field goal, and I think they did this and not punted, although I was thinking maybe they should have punted. Mm-hmm. But obviously now glad that he kicked it because he made it. But because Dallas was absolutely killing the Packers' secondary and defense. Dak was on fire since that interception. So they kicked that field goal. If he would have missed, you give Dallas a minute and a half left, needing only maybe 20, 25 yards to kick a game-winning field goal. I would have thought that would have happened. So I get that's why Green Bay kicked that field goal 56 yards by Crosby, which absolutely clutch. I mean, the guy has ice in his veins. He's made 23 consecutive postseason field goal attempts now. So, I mean, that's a record that I don't think anyone's going to beat for a while. He kicks the game winner 51 yards, and I thought he missed it because it was on the left side. It's in a dome, so there's no wind, no weather conditions. It's on the left, and it starts curving ever so slightly to the right to get it through the upright. So the Packers go on and win 34-31. Great performance by the Cowboys and Dak Prescott. They are set for the next 10 years, in my eyes, as long as they stay healthy. But Green Bay goes on to take on the Atlanta Falcons in the Georgia Dome next week for the NFC. If Green Bay are going to want to win this game against Atlanta next week, they're going to have to do it the same way they did against Dallas. They're going to have to score at least 30 points. And I think they're just going to have to hold on, kind of like they did against Dallas here. But we'll wait until Friday to preview those games. And then the last game, obviously, the Steelers against the Chiefs, the game that was pushed back to Sunday night. The Steelers with a postseason record 6 field goals from Chris Boswell defeat the Kansas City Chiefs 18-16. Kind of an ugly, boring game. The Pittsburgh Steelers absolutely dominated as far as yardage-wise. Big Ben with 224 yards, no touchdowns, 1 interception. And Le'Veon Bell continues to impress, the highest 2 yardage games in postseason history. He had 30 carries for 170 yards. Alex Smith and the Chiefs, they score late with just 3 minutes left. Obviously, they're going to go for 2 to try and tie the game.
Right.
They convert the 2-point conversion, but there is a holding penalty called on Jake Fisher, which bumps them back 10 more yards to try and go for 2 again for the tie with 3 minutes left, and they do not convert that. Travis Kelce, the Chiefs tight end, had kind of some not good remarks to say after after the failed 2-point try, kind of ripping the referees. Mm-hmm. He's blaming them. He says, quote, referee number 51, I'm sorry, hold on, give me one. Okay, so referee number 51 shouldn't even be able to wear a zebra jersey ever again. He shouldn't even be able to work at effing Foot Locker.
Oh.
So Kelce not really happy with the holding call, but honestly, it was
Right.
a hold. Jake Fisher against James Harrison, or I'm sorry, Eric Fisher. I keep saying Jake Fisher, but Eric Fisher. So it's a holding call against James Harrison, and it was clearly a hold. He had him right around the neck.
Yes.
There's no doubting it, but you can kind of question in a situation like that, should you let them play, let them be a little more physical, as opposed to calling a flag, or in the NBA, maybe you could say calling a foul.
Right.
And so that debate will obviously go on, but it was
It's always, yeah.
It was a clear holding penalty, and I don't see anything wrong with the call. Alex Smith also went on to say, I've seen a lot worse penalties not called.
Right.
So he's going to be definitely upset as well. But for me, the Chiefs, they put themselves in this situation. The defense held their line all day. They hold the Steelers to 6 field goals. They don't even let them in the end zone. The Chiefs just couldn't get stuff done. Travis Kelce had a really unnecessary personal foul, which bumped them back 15 yards during the game. He had a big drop, which would have put them in the red zone to try and go for a touchdown in the game. So, in a way, they kind of beat themselves. And it's not so much about this holding penalty. Mm-hmm. And plus, there was still time left. There's 3 minutes left.
Yeah.
The Steelers convert on a 3rd down and 3 to Antonio Brown with a couple minutes left to ice the game. So they had a chance, their defense had a chance to make a stop and then go on to kick a field goal that would have given them a 1-point lead, but that's not the case. And the Steelers go on and advance. They will be taking on the New England Patriots next week for the AFC. And did you see what Antonio Brown did after the game yesterday?
Are you talking about with the video?
Yes. So in the locker room, and I'm really surprised.
Man. Yes. Sometimes I think that all athletes, no matter who they are, what sport they play, should not have social media. I've always said that. I've always said if you're a great athlete, once you get to like college level, just delete all of it. Delete all of it.
I'm really surprised that
eventually
we see this.
Eventually. They're going to do something, post something, say something that they're going to that shouldn't have been said, that probably would not have been said. And now we have forever records of it. People posting, reposting, saving. Always.
I'm surprised we saw this. Not necessarily that we saw this, but that we saw this from a player of Antonio Brown's capability. He's arguably the best wide receiver in the game, and I would say he's the best wide receiver in football. I could see this happening from a third-string wideout, a special teams guy, a cornerback, a guy who doesn't really get much love.
But see, that's the thing. It's always the guys that you don't expect it from. So they should be the ones.
So what happens is Antonio Brown is obviously in the locker room. They're happy. They're celebrating a victory.
Exactly.
He decides to...
Rightfully so.
He decides to go on his phone and Facebook Live
17 minutes.
A 17-minute video, kind of like, I'm happy we won and everything.
Right.
Celebrating with my teammates.
Sure.
But then he keeps it up while head coach Mike Tomlin is making like a post-game sort of rah-rah speech to the team. Mm-hmm. And some of this has profanity in it, so I'll say some bleeps, but... So this is what Tomlin had to say. While Antonio Brown is streaming this live on Facebook Live, and
Yes.
he's Antonio Brown, one of the most popular players.
So he has
Steelers,
a lot of people following him, a lot of fans.
One of the most popular teams in the NFL.
Yeah,
so he's
true.
he's got probably millions of people that follow
People
him.
tuning in. And then once you realize that they're posting live, more people go on there to see, because we all want that like behind the scenes in the locker room type, like look at what does a team do when they're celebrating after a huge win like this, you know?
So this is what Tomlin had to say, and I'll leave some bleeps in there because there's some profanity, and I can't say that. So he says, quote, "When you get to this point in the journey, man, not a lot needs to be said. Let's say very little moving forward." So I think that's kind of ironic. We're saying very little, but Antonio Brown is
streaming
letting
this
everyone know what we're saying. So he says, "Let's start our preparations. We just spotted these bleeps a day and a half because they played yesterday, and the Steelers game had to be pushed back to night game when it was supposed to be in the morning."
Mm-hmm.
So he said, "They played yesterday. Our game got moved to tonight. We're going to touch down at 4 o'clock in the bleeping morning. So be it. We'll be ready for their bleeps, but you ain't got to tell them we're coming." Although Antonio Brown is letting you know.
Everyone know.
He says, "Keep a low profile."
Oh,
So,
okay.
I mean, this is kind
Let's
of the
do
opposite.
exactly.
And let's get ready to ball like this up here in a few days and be right back at it. That's our story. So, Antonio Brown is streaming all of this for everyone to watch it and hear it. Like I said, I'm surprised.
An entire speech about staying low and being low key, and let's just focus on our work rather than what people are doing on the outside.
Yeah, we're keeping a low profile while hundreds of thousands of people are watching this, and everyone's talking about it
It's
today.
really not funny.
It's a little funny, but
It's hilarious to
if
me.
I'm Antonio Brown and he's saying this, and I'm like,
Click off.
and I'm streaming this, and I'm like,
Yes.
maybe I should turn this off.
But I feel like he was probably so engrossed and so happy, like within himself, that he wasn't really paying attention to the speech. You know what I mean? He's probably just like
If I'm Mike Tomlin,
so
I'm
excited,
coming
happy.
coming at Antonio Brown next week.
Oh, well, yeah, that's the thing.
saying-
What's happening now?
I'm saying, okay, you better go out and ball out next week,
Yeah.
because if you're going to pull these shenanigans, you better put up 120, 150
Yes.
yards and a touch. You better not have an Odell Beckham-esque
I was going to say, no
performance,
Eldell Beckham's on my squad.
because if you're going to go out and do this,
You better
ball
perform.
out.
Yeah, you better perform.
and I'm sure he'll get a little bit of leeway because of who he is. He's Antonio Brown, one of the best in the game. If it was a guy who probably wouldn't see much playing
And this
time,
is so, and this is postseason, so we need him. Like, it's not going to be one of those things where, as far as like consequences are concerned, having him sit out or anything like that, because it's just like we don't have that leeway right now this late into the season and into the postseason. So I don't see anything like that happening, but it's probably just going to be one of those things where they're going to have in like a little press conference type thing, or after pre-game, post-game talk. Oh, we had a conversation about it. He knows better now. We've talked about it. He knows not to make that mistake again. Moving on type thing.
yeah, because you're going to have the media asking you
Yes.
questions about, just like last week, they had to deal with the whole Joey Porter getting arrested and drunk in public.
Right.
Is he going to coach? Is he not going to coach? They had
Right.
to deal with that last week. And now this week, it's going to be, Antonio Brown's Facebook Living your post-game speech, keeping a low profile and worried about spotting them a day and a half and everything. So now you have that sort of incident to deal with, which is not great for the Steelers. And they're already having to go against the team with the best record in the NFL in their house with, in my eyes, the best quarterback of all time in Tom Brady. So you already have a lot to deal with, a lot on your plate. Now you throw this into the mix.
And that's exactly what he was saying in the speech, is we don't need anything extra. Let's just go to work.
Well, there is extra. Antonio Brown, not one of the best decisions, although he makes a lot of good ones. Not one of the best decisions.
Right.
So we'll take our first break of the show. After the break, we're going to talk some basketball. Russell Westbrook and James Harden both with triple-doubles for their respective teams last night. And Steph Curry said something that I actually am happy he did, because most people wouldn't.
It kind of makes me like him a little bit more.
So we'll talk about that after the break at the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back into the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. The Houston Rockets improved to 32-11 with a commanding 137-112 victory over the Brooklyn Nets. I mentioned James Harden with another triple-double. He had 22 points, 11 assists, and 11 rebounds. He did have 7 turnovers, which we saw last week he had the quadruple-double.
Yeah.
So 7 turnovers, so he's still up there in turnovers. Got to make a little better decisions with the ball. But his distributor role still working in effect. And then you switch over to Russell Westbrook. He had himself a triple-double as well. The Oklahoma City Thunder defeat Pauline's Kings.
I was going to say, I know.
122-118. So it was a close game. The Kings came back in the fourth quarter, put up 39 points.
No, we have no ice in our veins. We can never close out.
They don't have any Mason Crosby.
And we're at home. That's what's killing me. 7 home games. Well, you know, like they're scheduled for 7 home games in a row, and we're like 1-5 right now.
Yeah, the Kings 8-12 at home overall, but Russell Westbrook 36 points, 11 rebounds, and 10 assists. He did have 7 turnovers as well, but this is already his 20th triple-double.
Yes.
He's still averaging a triple-double, which to be going on this far in the season, I honestly did not expect. I thought he would have dropped down a little bit, and I honestly don't think he's going to average a triple-double all year long. He'd be the second player ever behind Oscar Robertson to do so.
So we'll see.
I imagine the rebounds are going to drop.
You think so?
The points aren't going anywhere. The assists aren't going anywhere because he has the ball all the time.
Right.
The rebounds are going to drop.
But they haven't.
They haven't so far, but okay, this is game number 42. So we're literally just one past the halfway point.
Mm-hmm.
Russell Westbrook is like 6'3", 6'4". Eventually, doing this game in and game out, you'd imagine later in the season he's going to get a little tired. What's the one thing that's going to drop? It's the rebounds. He's not going to be able to crash the boards, have as much bounce in his step. That's the one thing that's going to drop, right? I mean, it has
But do you think that Russell's going to allow himself to get tired like that, though?
It's not that he's going to allow himself to.
But I feel like he's one of those guys that mind over matter, like to the T. We'll see.
I get it. Enes Kanter, a really good game off the bench last night for the Thunder. 29 points and 12 rebounds. He shot 10 of 18, which is fantastic. So when you look at Westbrook's stats, look, he's barely averaging 10 rebounds.
Barely, yeah,
10.7.
10.7.
So I think that's the one thing that'll drop. The points aren't going anywhere. The assists are going to stay there. I think it's the rebounds that'll drop.
All right, Russell. Prove me right. Prove me right, Russell.
I mean, for me, my MVP right now is James Harden. We talked about it last week, but
yeah, he loves James.
Yeah, I would stick with.
He's
Harden
gonna stick
right
with
now.
James. I'm sticking with Russ.
I don't love James. I just think he's having a better year. The record's better. The team is better. He's sort of being more unselfish in my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Something that we haven't seen from Harden before. And I think a lot of that you can contribute to Mike D'Antoni, but I think he's just having a better year. But anyways, now we'll transition over talking about Steph Curry.
Right.
So the reigning 2-time MVP, he was talking about the Mercury News in a podcast, and he said that it does not bother him that he is the 4th highest paid player on the Golden State Warriors.
Right.
So he said, quote, "One thing my pops always told me is you never count another man's money. It's what you've got and how you take care of it. And if I'm complaining about $44 million over the next 4 years, then I've got other issues in my life."
Right.
And we are both in agreement here.
Yes, so proud of him
that he said this.
I love Steph. I love him. I think that's one thing that I like about him, though, is that I love him. I feel like from what we're given, would like him off the court as well. Because when you say things like this, because I always think about that these guys, rightfully so, have the right to negotiate and want and demand higher pay. That's fine. That's totally fine, especially when it's out there. Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and Kevin Durant all earn more than Steph Curry does at this time right now. But then when you say it like that, but he, like how he says, $44 million over the next 4 years, that's still a lot of money.
It's $11 a year.
That's a lot of money.
Not to mention what he's getting from Under Armour and all the publicity
other things that he does outside. Right.
He's probably the most popular player in the
So,
NBA.
yeah, he's a fan favorite, guaranteed. And so when you say things like that, when you put it in perspective like that, how can you argue with this guy? Yeah, these other guys are making a lot more money than me. That's fine. But I'm still sitting really happy on my empire as well. So, it's one of those things that I really love about Steph Curry's. On and off the court, I feel like he's a good guy,
I agree with everything you just said, but we will really see what he's made of coming up.
Right.
Because he can say this now and then totally change his mind, because the Warriors can technically offer him a 5-year deal worth about $210 million, which would be record worthy, or other suitors, if he were to go somewhere else, which literally is not going to happen.
No.
They could give him the same amount of years, 4 years, 5 years, for approximately $140 million. So Steph could say this now, but is he going to be the guy when his contract is up saying, hey, if you don't give me the max, I might go elsewhere? He can say this now, but is he going to be that guy?
I don't know.
Then we'll really find out what he's made of. Is what he's saying right now correct? Because we've seen people take pay cuts in the past.
Yes.
Tim Duncan took a big pay cut near the end of his career to try and help the Spurs get more players. Dirk Nowitzki did the same thing after they won a title to try and get more players in there. And that's a little different because those guys, at the end of their careers, already earned hundreds of millions of dollars. Steph Curry's still in his prime years right now. So he's still in the middle of his NBA career. So he's still got a lot more tread left on the tires.
Yes.
So this is a little different. But honestly, I don't see Curry being that guy. I see him being the team guy. He has 4 really hungry mouths to feed, including himself. You have to get some sort of bench around you, which right now they don't really have in my eyes. So you have to try and take some sort of – you have to do a little bit of give and take. Curry's a guy who, growing up, has been fortunate his whole life. Del Curry was an NBA player. He grew up a millionaire already.
Right.
He's already earning $11 million a year on his contract salary with – sponsors and everything
endorsements,
else.
all the other things that he does, the camps, all that
he's
he does outside.
More millions of dollars. So it's not like he's hurting for money. So I think he's going to be that guy that says, hey, I'll take 12 a year to give KD 20.
Right.
And give
to make,
Clay 18.
I think so too.
So I think that's going to happen. But
I think it's going to go up just a little bit just because he's going to just be like, give me a little bit of a raise.
We'll see how selfish he is. I love LeBron James. He's fantastic.
Right.
I think I will be on record to say I think at the end of his career, we will probably say he was as good as Michael Jordan, comparison-wise, and valuable and all that stuff. But he's not the most unselfish person when it comes to his money. LeBron has more money than any of them. And yet he's earning $33 million a year.
Right.
He's on a 3-year, $100 million contract right now. And once that deal is up, he's going to
demand some more money.
Again.
Yeah.
Not to mention what he has with Nike and Sprite.
Yeah, everything else that he does outside.
He's not the most
brings
unselfish
in
person.
So much money.
We'll have to see if Curry is going to be the unselfish person. He's saying that right now. I got to take his word for it.
I think he's unselfish.
And I think he probably will.
I think he's unselfish.
Because this Warriors team, if they can keep these 4 together, they're set for the next 10 years. None of them are super old. They're not aging superstars. They're all in their prime.
Right.
So if they can keep these 4 together, LeBron's going to get older. The other Spurs are going to get older. Kawhi Leonard, LaMarcus Aldridge, they're still kind of young, but they're going to get older. No really other suitor in my eyes is on the Eastern Conference side. Boston's still kind of working their way through stuff.
Yeah, Steph's not going anywhere.
Steph's not going anywhere. KD, Clay, Draymond Green aren't going anywhere. If they can keep those 4 together, then I think they're set for championships.
And I think Steph is the kind of guy to try to do what he needs to do to keep them together.
We'll see. Tonight, a big game in the NBA.
Yes.
The Warriors will obviously be taking on the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yep.
Second matchup of the season. I'm definitely very, very excited about that one. Real quick, preview. Do the Warriors win it this time? They got close on Christmas. We obviously saw Kyrie with the game winner. Will the Warriors win it this time? The game is in Oakland, remember.
I don't know. I think that the Cavs are going to win it.
Really? I got to give the Warriors the edge this time. They blew a 14-point fourth quarter lead on Christmas in Cleveland.
Yes.
I don't imagine they're not going to do that this time.
But I don't know how. I think that the Cavs like coming and ruining your day in your own house more than the Warriors like defending their own house.
I get it.
Honestly.
And I honestly still think the Cavs are the favorite to win the title.
Yeah.
I would still pick them over the Warriors right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in this game, which is probably more of a meaningless game for Cleveland than it is for the Warriors,
I agree.
I'd probably give the edge to the Warriors tonight. I mean, it's more of a meaningless game for them. You know, LeBron's going to be trying to really do good against the Warriors and everything, but they're not worried about not being the number one seed in the East. They're on a road trip already. It's probably more of a meaningless game for the Cavs than it is the Warriors. Yeah, because the Warriors are going to want to come out for revenge after they collapsed in Cleveland.
No, well, yeah. I get it.
I think it's more of a meaningless game for Cleveland. I think
but I still think they're going to win because they're going to be like, yeah, it's meaningless, but still, let me just put one more dot on that period.
We'll see.
One more.
The game will be tonight.
I was going to say tally in that column. I don't know how I got out period on that dot, but yeah.
We'll see. The game is tonight in Oakland. So we'll take our last break of the show. After the break, we're going to talk some quick trending stories. We had Justin Thomas with a huge historic weekend in golf. Joey Bats, Jose Bautista close to returning to Toronto. And high school basketball star LaMelo Ball finally getting, I think, what he deserves. So we'll talk about that after the break at the Golden State Media
We'll be right
Concepts
back.
Sports Podcast.
Check out the show that's built on the MMA. From the UFC to extreme cage fighting, they got the fights covered. Check out the GSMC MMA podcast. Get the latest news on past or upcoming fights. Join us as we talk to and about some of the biggest names in the MMA, past, present, and future. When it's the fight game, there's just one show to check out. GSMCpodcast.com/MMA-podcast. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
So the Toronto Blue Jays are reportedly close to reaching a deal to bring back outfielder Jose Bautista. MLB.com is first to report that the Jays were the frontrunner to re-sign Joey Bats. The Blue Jays did offer him a one-year qualifying offer worth about $17 million in November, but the 36-year-old did reject that offer. Mm-hmm. So now it looks like they're discussing a 2-year deal worth between $35 to $40 million. So if you're on the low end of that, it's about $17 a year, $17.5 a year, and then on the high end, it's $20.
Right.
If I'm Toronto, you rejected my $17.2 million offer.
Mm-hmm.
You've been a free agent this whole entire time, which started in December.
Right.
Why would I bring you back for more money than what I gave you in November?
Yes.
You rejected
That's what I was thinking.
You
So
rejected my $17.2 million offer in November, and now I'm going to bring you back
still
for 20,
more.
maybe 20,
Yeah.
16, 17, 18 a year. I would offer him maybe like 15. And it's a 2-year deal, so he's 36. He's battled some injuries. Last year he battled a lot of injuries. They already have Kendry Morales, who they signed to basically be a DH this year.
Right.
So Jose Bautista at 36 probably still has to play in the outfield then if you have Kendry Morales, because he's filling in for Edwin Encarnacion, who went to Cleveland to be the DH. So you're paying him to be an outfielder for you. Why would I give him more money than what he basically turned the other way on my offer?
And
you're
now
not giving him a
he's-
long-term deal, only 2 years. But now you're going to offer him more money? That doesn't really make sense to me. Like I'd offer him like some like 14, 15.
Yeah, just be like, well, come back and
It's
still
like-
do it 1 year.
It's like, well, obviously you're still a free agent months after
right.
the free agency period
So
got underway.
now you needed to go negotiate with us now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So no one else was really interested in you.
Right.
And now I'm going to give you more money? Just doesn't really make sense to me. But anyways, moving on to golf, something we don't talk about too much on the show. But Justin Thomas with literally a historic weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So
And
Justin Thomas in Hawaii, not a bad
beautiful
place to be
Hawaii.
at. In the Sony Open,
Mm-hmm.
on the final hole, a 15-foot eagle putt gave him a final round 59. He ended it on Sunday with a 2-putt birdie from 60 feet that gave him yet another entry into the PGA Tour record book. The lowest 72-hole score in history.
I know.
This kid is 23 years
Young
old.
guy.
He's won back-to-back tournaments already to start the season. He's also won 3 out of the first 5 tournaments so far in the PGA Tour club season. He was 27 under par. Second place in this tournament, the Sony Open, Justin Rose at 20 under par. So he wins this tournament landslide. He wins it by 7 strokes. His final score, a 253. That's literally a record. Is this kid the next golf superstar? Is he like the next Jordan Spieth? He's doing things that only Tiger has done. Back-to-back tournaments by winning by at least a certain number of strokes, 3 out of the first 5. 23 years old. He's young. Are we seeing a guy who's just playing some really, really good golf?
A lot of time.
Or are we seeing the next Jordan Spieth, the next young superstar? For me, I think he's just having a good run at things right now.
Ben's such a hater.
I'm not a hater. It's like he said, quote, it's been an unbelievable week.
Right.
You know, before even going on this thing, I've done really good so far. So for me, he's just...
But then again, that's what I'm saying. Young guys, when they have like spectacular runs, I always hate when that's their height. And he's only 23. I don't want this to be his best, but I mean, he has a lot of time.
I mean, for me, he's just got to kind of prove himself first. He's having a great start of the season. We see this all the time.
We have to see him tried and tested.
For me, golf is the hardest sport to master.
Yeah. No, yeah. And
that's why I think we've seen some of the legendary golfers, at least through our generations, Tiger being one of them, Phil Mickelson kind of up and down there. But I think golf is the hardest sport to master because with every other sport, and with the exception of maybe tennis, it's not just you out there. Mm-hmm. You have a team to build around. If you're having a bad day, an off day, someone else can pick up the slack, get things done. In golf, it's you versus the field. So if you have a bad round or two, you're completely done.
Yes.
So that's why...
And it's all your fault. Like, it's
everything
all
is
on you.
All on your shoulders. It's you versus the field. It's already a hard enough sport to play as it is, to master. It's you versus the field. You have a bad round or two, you're completely done. It's the hardest thing to dominate. Even in tennis, we see oftentimes the top players usually prevail because things are done by sets. So you might drop the first set, but then you come back and bounce back in the second or third, win the game. In golf, it's not really like that. You hit a bad tee shot, you screw yourself up for the whole entire hole, you drop 2 or 3 strokes, you're done. Since Tiger's left, we haven't had anyone to really dominate golf. Rory McIlroy did it for a couple of years. He's kind of been irrelevant since then. Jordan Spieth did it a couple of years. He's kind of been irrelevant since then. With golf right now, I feel like you can just pick golfers ranked 1 through 50 in the world, put their names in a hat, pull it out and say, oh, okay, Justin Thomas is going to win this one. Oh, Jordan Spieth's going to win. Jason Day's going to win.
Yes, right.
There's no real dominant golfer right now. There's no real dominance like we saw with Tiger.
Where we knew he was going to win.
If he wasn't going to win, he's going to at least be there in contention. We haven't really seen that with anyone in golf. So could he be the next one? I mean, it's possible. But I think maybe I haven't really seen enough from him to know. So
right.
I'm not going to go out and say, oh, yes, he's the next great golfer. We haven't seen anything. We've seen 3 out of the last 5 tournaments he's won, back-to-back ones, the lowest round in history. So he's playing fantastic. Kudos to him. Congratulations.
Right.
But to me, we haven't just seen enough. So I'm not going to go out there and make some stupid, bold predictions. He's just playing good right now. You can't hurt a guy for that. You can't hate on him for that. All right, and then real quick before we end the show, Anthony and I have talked about it before, but LaMelo Ball, he's a high school basketball player for Chino Hills. They're the reigning state champions in California, team from SoCal. Absolutely fantastic. You know about Lonzo Ball, who currently plays at UCLA, having a fantastic freshman year. This is his brother.
Right.
They also have another brother on the team named LiAngelo Ball. He's a senior this year. He's already committed to UCLA as well. LaMelo Ball is a sophomore. He's just 15 years old, but he's already committed to UCLA as well. He committed there at the age of 13. So within the next 3 years, we're going to have 3 Ball brothers playing ball at UCLA, which is fantastic. We saw the Plumleys. I mean, I feel like there was a Plumlee at Duke for the last decade.
Yeah.
So we've seen the Plumleys at Duke. Now we're going to have the Balls at UCLA. LaMelo Ball according to scouts and everything, might be the best one, which is kind of scary when you look at how good Lonzo Ball is.
I was going to say, yeah, considering, but a lot of times I always think that the younger sibling always gets the best of everything, because especially when your older siblings are so good, because they pour into you. So of course, like, they want you to be better than them.
And he's obviously playing against his brothers who are fantastic.
Right.
Lonzo
so he's
Ball is
used to
probably
that standard. Yeah.
Lonzo Ball is probably going to be the top pick in the draft. If I was a team starting my franchise, I would take him number 1 because of just how good of a player he is. Totally unselfish, not a guy who's all about the scoring. Guy who's going to get you. He's going to be a double-double machine in the NBA if he stays healthy, in my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So if he is not maybe even the best one of the 3, that tells you how good LaMelo Ball might be. Fantastic player, but Anthony and I have talked about on the show. I kind of question this kid's mentality. If you don't know who he is, if you don't know who he is, he's probably the flashiest guy there is right now.
He is. Yeah.
Flashy passes, not a guy who's afraid to show his range.
He loves to entertain.
That's a great way to put it. But anyway, so this kid before has pulled up to start the game from half court, kind of calling his shot, pointing at the mid-circle, pulling up from there. He actually made it. He's done this a couple of times now.
Right.
So he's not a guy who's afraid to definitely show off. So in a game on Friday, LaMelo Ball tries to do the same thing against Etowanda. Not a bad team from SoCal as well. Chino Hills actually win the game 72-67. They're still unbeaten. Obviously, they have 2 of the best players in all of high school basketball. I was about to say college, but so they're still a really good team. Mm-hmm. But Etowanda gave them a pretty good game.
Good run.
SoCal, probably one of the best high school basketball pedigrees. Think about, you have Modern Day down there. They've been so good for years. So not a bad team, but Chino Hills gets the job done. So LaMelo Ball tries to do one of his typical LaMelo Ball antics. So he tries to pull up from half court yet again.
Right.
But this is what I think is fantastic. So
Ben has a new favorite high school player today.
His name is Miles Oliver.
Ben's new favorite.
So Miles Oliver, props to him and the whole scouting team for Etowanda.
Right.
But LaMelo Ball tries to pull up from half court, and Oliver actually blocks his shot.
Yes.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Because I've talked about it with Anthony before, and he actually loves what LaMelo Ball is doing, and I'm kind of on the other side of that.
I'm like in the middle.
Okay, but so I well, I love that this happened to him, because maybe this kid will finally get it into his head that maybe I should worry about just simply playing basketball
and not worry about an and one mixtape,
and not trying to have the highest trending video on YouTube.
Right. Harlem Globetrotter style.
Right now.
Well, no, yeah, he is. And that's why I say, like, I'm in the middle, because there's times when, like, I love it. Because when that first video went viral of him doing that, I was like, no, this kid did not. No, he did not. But then on the other side, I like Miles Oliver, because I'm also the type of player that, okay, so this viral video has gone out that this is what you like to do. You're flashy. You're the kind of guy that likes to come and disrespect players, like really put on a show. And so I'm the kind of player like Miles Oliver. You're not doing that to me. You're not doing that to me. And so that's why I kind of like both sides with this, because I love the audacity that LaMelo Ball has to put on that show. But then I'm also love it when players are like, no, not today. Not today. You can try that over there. You can try that once, but you're not going to do it a second time to me. And so now guaranteed LaMelo will not, if he does try it again, he knows what's going to happen against him if they face off again, Miles Oliver and LaMelo. And now Miles probably has a little bit more of a confidence boost too, because he's going to be thinking, you're not trying that again. I've done it to you once. I've told you already. We're not here, not today. So that's why I'm kind of in the middle with it, because I like both. I like both.
I just hate that he has to have this sort of mentality, because we all know the talent's there.
Yes.
Oftentimes in high school, you can kind of dominate games by yourself.
Yeah, you can.
Because teams are kind of spread out. You're not in college where everyone's there for a reason. In
exactly.
The NBA. So
some teams just, get what they can get.
In times in high school, you kind of separate and really distance yourself, because eventually the talent takes over.
Right.
And that's really how Chino Hills are. They were unbeaten last year. They're probably going to be the favorite to get back there this year, because they have those 2 Ball brothers who are fantastic.
Yes.
So oftentimes talent kind of takes over. And that's what happens with this kid. He's absolutely talented. There's no doubting that. I just hate that you have to have that mentality when you're this talented. Because I guarantee if he was not, if he wasn't as talented as he was, he wouldn't have this mentality in his head where I need to literally be the flashiest player in the whole entire world and get people to talk about me. You don't see anyone else doing that.
True.
And
he does it for the thrills.
I mean, for me, if I'm the coach of Chino Hills, I realize how great you are. But you tried that with me coaching. You might as well be riding the pine pony for the rest of the game and sitting on the bench. Mm-hmm. Because I'm here to win basketball games. I'm not here to get you on YouTube.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And while you might be helping me win games,
so you're gonna try to teach him a lesson.
Way.
Yeah.
And I mean, he might as well get this out of his system now. Because he's going to UCLA in 2 years. I guarantee Steve Alford, who's the coach right now, and is going to be the coach, unless something drastic happens, is going to be the coach at UCLA still.
When he gets there.
He's not going to take this crap. I mean, you don't see Lonzo Ball doing it.
No, I was going to say, yeah.
He's probably the most quiet leader that we've ever seen. I don't even think I've heard his voice before. He's like that quiet. He's like Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah.
Like super quiet. Don't really know much about him. Kind of flies under the radar. Just sticks to basketball. Does his thing.
Yeah, literally goes to work.
You're not going to see this from Steve Alford, who coaches UCLA. He's not going to be doing any of this crap. So you might as well get it out of your system now, because you're not going to be doing it in college. And in college, obviously, the talent's more closely spread out.
And college ball players are waiting for him.
Think about the Pac-12.
Daring him to try something like that.
Oregon's really good right now. UCLA's really good right now. Cal's up and down. Arizona's a powerhouse. So you have a lot of good Pac-12 teams. So you might as well get this out of your system now, because you're not going to do it. And you're definitely not going to do it in the NBA if you get there, which he probably should. He's kind of reminds me like a Steph Curry. Point guard, kind of small, flashy, gets to the paint really good. Good shooter.
Not that half-court mess. Definitely not that half-court
But yeah, I'm actually glad Miles Oliver finally got this kid. Maybe he'll finally stop doing things.
He'll slow down with it.
Yeah, we'll see. But anyways, that's going to conclude the show for today. Pauline will be back in the studio tomorrow talking all things sports.
Yep.
We had a fantastic weekend. My name is Ben.
I'm Pauline.
Thank you for listening. Have a good day, and we'll see you next time.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.